Welcome back to part 2 of Marriage Conflicts. Are you ready to hash
Part
out
two?
the final 4?
What are they again?
We are going to dive right in. If you listened to last week, we are talking about the top conflicts people have in their marriages. Okay, took these straight off of the Google and other websites that talked about marriage conflicts, marriage disputes.
So what did we talk about in the first?
If you missed the first one, you're going to want to go back because we talked about chores, household chores, people arguing about like how to handle a household, harmful behaviors, like substances and all those other things, having conflicting interests and values. We talked about the principle of sharing and what that means, doing something new just because your spouse likes to do it. And then we ended talking about parenting, people having conflicts because they're not making their spouse the number one. Oftentimes kids are the number one, which can cause disagreements in your marriage and in your parenting partnership. Okay. Today we are going to talk about extended family, intimacy, finances, and communication. Shall we dive in?
Dive in.
Okay, so first on the list is extended family. Conflicts around extended family.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe you've got some more to talk about that with being the first 4 or 5 years of our marriage living next door to your in-laws.
Yeah. We're in a very unique situation. So we live within 30 minutes of all of our family, pretty much. Within an hour, we live with even
and then
more.
The rest of my family is in an hour.
Yeah, the like our like each of our immediate families, right? We do have extended family. So one of the big things that I thought was always like it was great and bad all at the same time. So when we were first married, when it was just you and me, do you remember that one holiday where we went to 6 Christmases?
This was before kids?
Yeah. Well, and maybe a little bit with kids. Do you remember when we went to 6?
So we had your sister, your mom, and then
so like we had one in Harvey. We had one in Harvey.
Wellsburg. What if there been in
one in Wellsburg? We would have had one in Harvey. We would have had one in Wellsburg. We would have had one in Dawson. That was all for my family.
Oh yeah, back when we were still going to Dawson.
Yeah, and then we had one. We usually had 2 different ones at your house for 2 different groups. And then one time we went to Bismarck for one of the other Steichen groups. And then we went to your house for like just our immediate.
This was all 1 year?
Yes. And I remember that was, and it was like, I love family. I love being around people, but I remember that being like, because we live close and we live right here, you're kind of expected to do it all.
Yeah.
And like that, we don't have that, and we don't have quite that much going on. We like are much simpler now, but I could see where if you had those kinds of expectations in your families, how that could get overwhelming. I like that our pastor always talks about like when you are going to marry somebody, it's very important to talk about like, this is how I brought up, this is what my household was like, this is what I want to take, and this is what I want to leave. Like, these are the things that I want to bring with me from being a Melland. These are the things that I want to bring into my household. These are the traditions, the values, the things. Same with you. You had things that you did as a Steichen, that these are the things that I want, these are the things I want to do, these are the things that I want to whatever. Do you this would probably have to go way back to really like think about this, but do you ever remember a time where you and I had a disagreement or a marriage conflict at a family function?
Are you thinking of a certain time?
No. I'm just curious because I just know it happens to people quite a bit.
I mean, I kind of think so.
Do you have a specific that you want to share?
Not that comes to mind. I just think I remember something at some point.
So I remember when we
tell you why. I just kind of remember it.
I remember when we started. I don't even know if you want to call it a boundary, but I would say that you and I now, and this is something I would highly suggest people in a marriage to do. So you and I, let's say we're getting ready to go over to your parents' house. Okay.
Yeah. Like now
Sure.
or back then?
Well, I don't think we were as good as it back then, but I think now you and I kind of have the quick conversation of like the expectations of the day. Like, let's say we're going to someone's birthday party. Like, I think you and I always have like a quick conversation of like, how long are we staying? Are we going together? Are we meeting there? Is there any specifics that are happening with the kids? Like, especially when like we used to have kids that used to take naps. I feel like we were a little good at being like, yes, our kid's taking a nap. No, our kid's not taking, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We kind of hashed out like some of those like expectations beforehand, like even on the drive there in the car, being like, what's your
That's not really a we thing though. That's a you thing.
But that's because I listened to a podcast about that and I was like, oh my gosh, we never do that. Why don't we do that? Like, how easy is it? Because I feel like you and we used to have conflicts, and I can't remember a specific one, but I feel like we used to have conflicts because, like, after a certain amount of time, like, I was ready to go, and you were under the expectation that, like, we were staying for another, like, 3 hours. Or vice versa, or whatever it is. And then one of us is irritated and mad because then it's like, well, I wasn't anticipating on putting the kids to bed here, or the kids napping here, or I didn't bring this, or I didn't bring that. Like, then that's what causes the conflict. Then you go home and you argue about it, or you argue about it there in front of your family.
Yeah.
And then it's this big problem. So I just feel like now, maybe it's just me being better at like being like,
better pack for anything because it is what it is type of thing.
What's the expectation?
We don't know what's going to happen.
And if we have an expectation, you need to share that.
No, like, I think you've learned in my family, Christmas is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, if it's going to be an expectation for the kids to spend the night and all be together and they're spending the night, like I hashed those things out with your sister or whoever before then.
Yeah. Which even if it wasn't, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like we live 40 miles away.
No. But I think it was a bigger deal when we had little kids.
Well, probably.
When we had little kids and I liked the routine of getting kids to bed and getting kids.
Yeah, you don't like breaking your routine.
No. So when we talk about it, I think that made it a lot better.
I'm sure communication is key.
And that's going to be the next one that we discuss. And I think communication, literally, the reason why this communication is a dispute is because a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too, are very bad at communicating their expectations for a particular thing in a marriage and in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this is one I hear this type of stuff all the time. Like, something as simple as, like, my husband didn't get me anything for my birthday. Well, did you communicate that you wanted something for your birthday? Like, to me, that's just a very simple example of, like, if you are a person who wants a gift and you want flowers and you want whatever, have you communicated to your spouse that, like, hey, just so you know, the expectation is that every single year you buy me a birthday gift, you buy me a Christmas gift or whatever. If you're expecting, like, is that a conversation that you've had? And people are like, well, I shouldn't have to. Well, I don't know, kinda, don't you think? Are you and me gift people?
No.
No, neither one of us are gift people. Once in a while, we'll probably surprise each other with a gift, but neither one of us is expecting a gift. So I'm just using gifts as a particular example of, like, when people say, like, well, I shouldn't have to. Well, I shouldn't have to communicate this. Well, I shouldn't have to tell my husband that it bothers me when he leaves his clothes on the bathroom floor. Well, I shouldn't have. Well, to me, you've already just failed then. You've already just set the failure of the communication. That's the whole point. If you have something that, like, hey, you know what? I would really love it if you put your dishes in the dishwasher instead of putting them in the sink right when you're done eating. Like, you might feel like that's something that you don't have to tell someone, but maybe they never did that. I didn't grow up using a dishwasher. I never put dishes in the dishwasher. My mom still doesn't use a dishwasher. Like, so that wouldn't be something that I would even think about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unmet expectations is huge. I would like to add one more thing about the extended family parenting thing is I think there needs to be extra conversations around bringing in a grandchild to the mix.
I mean,
And I'm not just saying
maybe.
grandparents. I'm saying family. Like maybe it's just because I'm a mom, but to me that was a huge thing. You become a parent, and it seems like everybody under the sun wants to give you advice on how to do that job.
Yeah.
And like it creates just like a different dynamic when you have
Like, it doesn't seem like you guys know what you're doing, so maybe you should try doing it this way.
right.
But not that polite.
Well, and I'm not saying that they're in the wrong.
No,
I'm just saying,
they're not.
I'm saying for the spouses, that means that you and I
Need to be on the same
be
page.
100% on the same page so that we communicate
Yeah.
the right things to the rest of the family members.
Yeah.
Like if there is something like, so here, our son and his medicine, that has been a problem and a conflict
Since the
beginning. Our son has had skin issues, he's had breathing issues, he had whatever. And this was a big okay, you can disagree with me if you want. When I took my son to a grandparent or to whatever, I would write down and be like, he has to get X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I feel like you did not do that.
No.
And would you say that there were certain times where our son was with somebody else, didn't know, and it's not their fault, they didn't know the expectation, they didn't know the seriousness of the situation, and our son came back sick because he had gone a day or whatever missing his routine stuff?
Then you're saying that's my fault?
I'm not saying. Well, yes,
yes,
I am.
Are.
Yes, I am. Do you remember stuff like that? That's what I'm talking about.
I guess, sure.
So, and it's, to me, that comes back to a marriage thing. Like, clearly, you and I were not on a solid same page in order to be able to transfer that information to other people in our lives.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. So, with the whole family thing, it bleeds into communication. It just adds a whole dynamic on, because you're taking two families and then you're creating one, a new unit, basically. Right?
Yes.
So let's just keep rolling on with the communication thing and the expectations thing.
Okay.
Would you say probably most of our marriage disputes, problems, probably end up being in this communication?
I would say a good 97% of them.
97% probably. And this is the big one. Communication and expectations. This is the big one where I think made our first 5 years of marriage very poor.
I don't do well communicating.
But I don't even know how to say this. So I think...
Choose your words wisely.
Yeah, I know. I am. At the beginning of our marriage, I'm gonna fault myself for this. I know. I think I had very unrealistic expectations for our lifestyle.
I would agree.
There was a lot of times at the beginning where I would get really upset and I would cause a lot of conflict because Dalton missed XYZ.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Uh-huh.
Because, so, Dalton is a farmer rancher, everybody knows. And I would put something on the calendar, and last minute, Dalton would say, I'm not coming, I'm working, there's cow thing, and I would fume.
I mean, I could even be harvesting, and you would be like, park the combine or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what are you, what? Like, no.
Yeah. So there was, and I will fault myself for that. There was a lot of that. So the one thing that I've learned is I've had to become better at just going off and doing things by myself with just me and the kids. I don't know if you guys can hear that noise, but there is like a
Canada Day or something.
I don't know, but there is like fireworks galore going off outside the campground, and I'm like, I don't know why that is. What? The fireworks? You could see them? Are you doing something or what? You ready to go back in hand here?
No, I'm ready to go back at foot.
So yeah, at the beginning, I think I was I lived in a very unrealistic world. And so that's something that I don't think that we discussed probably enough.
I think I discussed it lots.
So now,
I think I tried many times to tell you that this is how it is when it is go time. There is not stop for some. Yeah, I don't know. Like I remember the first real time, one of the first times you really got mad at me
yeah, it's
was
gonna.
combining over Levi's birthday,
Mm,
and
yeah.
you flipped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not stopping. And I think for his first birthday, I did stop and go, and it was his second birthday because for his first birthday, I ticked Dad off. And I'm like, well, we'll just deal with it because my wife wants me there. And then the second year, I'm like, no, I'm okay. I want to be there. If I could be there, I would for sure be there. But I'm not gonna park a combine when it's go time. And it was go time.
So I think a way that we've solved this in the last 5 years of marriage is because I obviously still want Dalton at things, right?
Yeah, and then you schedule a vacation when I can't go and go.
Yeah, because I wasn't the one in charge of the vacation.
So you don't go.
I'm not the one combining. That's what I'm trying to say here. Is like I decided, and we just decided, like our life is not stopping around each other's schedules, which is why
should be to a certain point.
Which is why I think we're very good at like living a little bit separately once in a while. And the second thing is I've gotten a lot better at is if there is something that absolutely I'm like Dalton needs to be here because this is a major event. Like for example, our kids' birthdays.
I'm always
Dalton will not miss our kids' birthdays. That is something as a parent.
You don't even have to explain that to me. I know that.
I know. So that is why when it comes time to schedule our kids' birthdays, what do?
You ask me.
I text you and ask
I'm like,
you.
I think hopefully this day.
Yeah, and normally we pick a Sunday because that's usually a pretty safe bet.
Usually.
But I'm like, and if we have to do it 2 weeks later or 2 weeks before, that's what we do because Dalton's not missing our kid's birthday. Correct. So there are certain things like that where, and like, so like for sports schedules right now, I look at the calendar and I find at least one that I'm like it is unrealistic for me to be like Dalton is going to stop what he's doing to go to every single volleyball game that there is. Okay, so I'll look at the calendar and I will give him like 1 or 2 dates and be like, these are the ones that are close to home. Like you need to be at one of them. And then like you have gotten a lot better at stopping for things like that. Like I think in the beginning you didn't stop for anything. And I think now that you're like, yes, I will make it to one of my kids' sporting events. Do you agree?
Well, I go to usually more than one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said like we've just both you and I have bent away from our expectation of what it was at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like you were a hardcore, and that had to just do with working relationships on how they were back then. And I was hardcore the other direction, and I think both of us have
mellowed to each other's way.
Mellowed, yes, into each other's way, which is a huge communication benefit and just things that we've had to work through, but are all things that need to be discussed before. Yeah, because we had some ugly fights and some ugly arguments about things that really didn't matter in the end. And it's just all about communication. You can't over communicate. You can't communicate too much. Gotta share what needs to be said. Okay, getting down to the 2 finale ones. Intimacy. So intimacy and connection is also another huge conflict in people's marriage. And this could mean intimacy, but it also could just mean connection in general. How are you finding ways to connect with your spouse when it feels impossible to do so? So this could be as simple as so for Dalton and I right now, I think that this is probably one of those things we are figuring out right now, because a lot of days right now, you and I are living in completely different places. So like during the week when you're at home and I'm at the apartment, like how are we finding ways to still connect with each other? And
We really don't.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We're figuring that out and navigating that right now. It's like a new learning curve for us. We're trying to figure that out. How am I keeping you in the loop with what's like going on with the kids and what's going on with like the school life, and how are you keeping me in the loop of what's going on in like your life? And I don't think we have that totally figured out yet.
No.
But I feel like this is one of those topics that is an ever flowing roller coaster for us, just because of the lifestyle that we have with farm and ranch. We have seasons where it is very easy for you and I to connect. You're home all the time. We're together often. We're together every single day for a certain amount of day.
Yeah.
We have really easy time connecting and whatever. And then there are seasons where I feel like I am single parenting, and
I feel like I'm going insane.
And you feel like you're going insane, and we're never connecting. We are missing each other always. And that's something that I used to be really bad at. I used to be a really bad single parent. I like hated it so much, and I hated you for it
Yes,
a lot.
you did.
And I kind of learned that like I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my kids. And I think we've gotten better at balancing, like when you and I are together, like you take on a lot of the roles and responsibilities, because then when I'm by myself, I take on a lot of the roles and responsibilities.
Well, I mean, when I'm in the field, there's my little boy is with.
Yeah, and that's helped too.
A lot of the time.
That he gets to go and have that connection.
Yeah. Well, it's not really that he gets to. He chooses to.
The intimacy and the connection thing, I don't have a whole lot of advice for that, because that is an ever flowing roller coaster that we still deal with.
I mean, that kind of goes back to talking about your expectations of that topic before you're married.
Yeah.
Being on the same page.
Yeah. And that's something that's...
All of these things kind of pertain to that.
All of these things can fall under the category of expectations.
They can all fall under the category of, if you didn't talk about this before you're married, you shouldn't be married yet.
Yeah.
I maybe shouldn't say it that harsh, but it's things that should be crossed off your checklist. But
I will say, like, this one is one that we've had to learn, because you and I particularly did not have a whole lot of knowledge on intimacy and connection before we were married.
Basically none.
Which is good. It's
right.
fine.
It's the way it's supposed to be.
It's the way it's supposed to be. So, like, that's one of the topics here. Like, we talked about it. It's kind of like along the lines of the parenting thing for us. Like, you can discuss it, but you don't really know until you're in it how, like,
yeah,
we got to be willing to
kind of learn as you go type of thing.
Right. And that also is a thing, conflict, and I don't know if it really falls under this category specifically, but you need to know that your spouse is going to change. Your spouse, I mean, like, one of the big things, like, maybe are that marriages end or whatever, is that their spouse changed. I really hope that Dalton is not the same as the 16-year-old boy that I fell in love with in 2010. Like, I really hope we've grown and changed, and that we're growing and changing together. You know, so for some of these things that you can't really discuss before marriage, it's just a constant communication of, like, interests and expectations, and how is this going? How is this not going? What needs to be different? What needs to stay the same? What's working well? What's not working? And I think that that's a huge problem, is when something is really not working well for you in your marriage, are you communicating that to your spouse? Like, this is going on, and I absolutely hate it all the time. I think there's a lot of people that live in their hatred, and they end up hating their spouse because of it. Like, I hate this about our marriage, but it's not changing, so I'll just live with it and live with it and live with it. And you can only do that for so long before you break. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's what marriage is talking about the icky, gross, terrible, crappy things too. And being like, this has been going on. I know that it specifically, like, I know my breaking point. I vividly remember my biggest breaking point when our son was about 6 to 9 months old. And I said to you, I said, something seriously needs to change or I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to make it through. And that's when I said, I need to do something that's for me or I'm going to lose my mind. And that's when I started my workout routines and this, that, and that ended up being something that was incredibly good for my physical well-being as well as my mental well-being. But like, that was just one of, like, I could have just kept that inside and been like, I'm just going to suffer through this. And I hate every day and I hate all of these things. And then there was a lot of times where you took our infant son for an hour so that I could go do my workout.
I took him in the tractor a lot too.
Yeah. And so I just think, like, you got to communicate. You got to communicate the good. You got to communicate the bad whenever you can. And our last topic. This is a fun one.
This one gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Finances.
I hate numbers.
You want to share? Are you ready to share our finance journey with the world?
No.
One thing.
I don't think we need to go too far in depth.
Well, we're going to go far enough. One thing that for all of these topics, all 7 of them, is when this is my little hint to all of my people who are dating out there, potentially like getting ready to get married. There is, and because this goes back to the parenting one, extended family one, whatever one, there is so much input coming in. There is so many opinions coming in on how certain things should be done or not done in a marriage and in a household. Do you agree?
Yes.
And would you say that you and I, in our first 5 years of marriage, we tended to cling to the outside input that we agreed with?
Yeah.
More than the conversations that you and I were having together.
Probably.
Which can be a huge problem. And this can go for any of these topics. You hear things of like, well, this is, other people will tell you, well, this is how we do it, or this is what needs to be done, or this is how marriages work, or this is X, Y, it doesn't matter. All of this input coming in, and you'd hear those and you'd be like, oh yeah, we got to do it like them, or oh yeah, that's how my parents did it, or yeah, that's what makes sense. And then you start doing that probably without even communicating to your spouse, and then your spouse is like, what? Why are we doing it like that? Well, that's not how my family did it. Well, that's not how this person did it. Well, that's not what and then that's when you had the constant disagreements. I think you and I were very bad at clinging on to the outside input before having a conversation of what you and I honestly actually felt to our core. And the biggest one that we had this problem with was, I think, finances.
Probably.
Through our like marriage counseling and talking to our families and talking to whatever, a lot of people gave these ideas of how our finances were supposed to work. And that we needed to share everything, and that we needed to combine everything, and back in the day, you and I were not good business people.
Am I now?
I don't know. But you and I were not big number people in the first 4 years of our marriage.
No. We
didn't know a lot about anything. We didn't know about taxes. We didn't know about
I still hate taxes.
Profit and loss statements. We didn't know.
I feel like you've learned a lot more than me.
We didn't know a lot of that. And so we made the decision to keep all of our finances separate and the same right away as when we were like we were single. And so, which I'm not going to say that like, oh, that was a good decision, that was a bad decision. I don't know. And do you remember why?
No.
So
I don't remember much of this.
Seriously? I remember this being a huge
I'm sure you
conflict fighting constantly about this. This is all I remember from like our first 2 years of marriage is fighting about finances. I'm very organized financially, even though I didn't know a lot. I didn't have a lot of knowledge. Like I know to the cent where all my money is going at all times.
I feel like I do.
Back then?
No.
Okay.
Now I do.
Okay. Back then, we're talking in our first like 2 or 3 years of marriage. Did you have a darn clue to the cent of where all your money was going and where it was going to?
Doubt it.
No. And so that stressed me out. And I was like, we cannot throw all of our finances together. Like, I'm not going to make it if we do that. And so, and I think you really wanted me to kind of take control over the finances and like keep track of all that stuff. But I think I said, I'm only doing that if we're doing it my way. And you were like, well, I don't think we should do it that way. So we kept it the way it was. And I said, that's fine. But you're then keeping track of yours and I'm keeping track of mine. And we'll figure it out. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you remember the breaking point of when that all shifted?
No.
Do you remember? I don't. Do I just have a great memory, or all of these things?
I think maybe I just try to forget the bad things.
Yeah, maybe, because I remember laying in our bed, and I'm pretty sure we were like in the new house. Like that's how long that we went through all this. That's why it's like it's serious. Like we had like the first 5 years and this last 5 years. Like it was just is weird, but we were sitting there with we had some problem. We had some problem with some financial thing. And you had not checked, like you had not done banking for months. And we had to go back, flip through this binder and go by transaction to find the problem. And I'm pretty sure we had to go back like 6 months.
No, I was never that bad.
It was a lot.
No. 6 months?
Okay, 3 at least.
That sounds a little more realistic.
Okay.
Wasn't 6.
Still, going through transactions 3 months at a time?
Yeah, but it wasn't that many.
Oh my God. Do you remember how mad you were and how frustrated you were?
No.
And you were so upset?
I told you, I try to forget the bad thing.
And you, at the end of that, we spent hours and hours and hours. And pretty soon, because like you just didn't have time. You didn't have time to keep up with it. And my deal is like, I'm not keeping up with it if it's not going to be organized. And you literally like handed me the binder and you're like, call the bank tomorrow. We can do it however you want. I'm not doing this ever again. That's what you said. So it was after that we split our accounts the way that I thought that they should be organized. We combined accounts. We created new accounts. We shuffled money into the certain avenues that I just felt like made more sense for business keeping. And, because we had multiple businesses at that time. And yeah, it was. And so ever since then, I am
You do a great job, honey.
Yeah, I'm. What do you want to call me? I'm the financial
advisor
of our family. I'm the bookkeeper.
You're the everything.
That's what I am. That's what I do. The only thing that Dalton does, like I contact our bankers and all that for all that stuff. I handle our retirement plans. I am in contact with our financial advisors and all the things. So to say that is for the finances, you either got to split the duties equally and you're kind of either doing your own things, or you got to kind of, I feel like you have to like pick the person that's going to be more in charge with it.
Yep.
Would you say that? Like, there's probably going to be one of you or the other of you that, and the other person's just got to like trust that it's going to be okay. And have we had any problems since?
Not really.
I just remember it turned into a mess and you just handed me the thing and you're like, I never want
to do it however you want.
I'm done. I'm done with this. And I was just like, alrighty. So I personally, for us, I think we handled that the best way possible. I think if you and I in that situation that we were in when we got married, if we would have just thrown all of our money into one account, into one pot, or into one whatever, I think we would have had a mess.
Well,
I think it would have been a disaster. So we needed that time, that couple years, to kind of like figure out like what are our bills? Like what are like I have a job, a big kid job for the first time that's got benefits and that's got this and that's got that. Like we have our own medical insurance now. We have car insurance. We have payments. We have our own phone bill. Like before you get married, we didn't have any of that stuff. So we didn't even know financially like what are we responsible for?
Well, you learn out real quick.
Yeah, and so I just think it takes some time to figure that stuff out, which is fine. And so yeah. I don't know if that's right or that's wrong, but that's where we are.
Us.
Yeah. And so with all of these, the ones that we talked about last week and the ones that we talked about today, communication is key. Like people don't just decide tomorrow that they're going to end their marriage. It's usually months, years of hardship in one of these categories, right? It's not just something that happens overnight. So as soon as you see an issue in your marriage, like address it immediately, get help, ask for outside mentors. Dalton and I got mentors when we like joined our church, and they, ended up being the people who ended up fostering the people who are going to become our kids. Having people in your corner, having people to support you, having people that you trust, having people in marriage that are like a step ahead of you, a season ahead of you, so they can be like, yep, we went through that. Here's what we did. Here's another option.
Marriage journal.
Yeah, doing the marriage journal like we did last week. Keeping up with each other, all of those things. So if there's any other hardships that you guys want to discuss that we didn't hit on our top list, or if you have something to share, or if you have some support or need some support, reach out, and we're always happy to support you when we can, because we are pro marriage. Your spouse should be your number one. Number two, your spouse should be your number two after Christ. And I find a huge value in marriage, and I like to help people get to that point if they're not in that point with their marriage, to save marriages and keep marriages healthy and alive.
Well said.
Well said. Anything else you want to throw out there before we end it?
I don't think I've got anything else to throw.
No. Okay. Thanks for joining us for 2 parts of marriage discussion. And we'll be back next week.
Bye.
I can't tell you what we're talking about, but it'll be good.
We can hope.
We can hope. So, bye.